This is Part 2, Episode 85. Jing Zhon swung his right arm down to announce that the match had officially begun. Both teams' formations immediately changed. Long Aotian stood at the Snow Demon Sect's vanguard, while Wang Yangfeng and Ji Yutong stood to either side of him. Jiang Yishi and Chen Yu stood behind them at their sides, the five of them forming a sharp triangle formation. This was an offensive formation, and since Princess Wei Na was their auxiliary-type soul master, so she was positioned behind this triangle. Long Aotian was in front of her, and this meant her defense was practically impregnable. The Tang Sect's formation immediately transformed as well. Shu Sanxia and Bei Bei charged forward side by side, and Jiang Nan disappeared behind Shu Sanxia in a flash. At least, her opponents couldn't see her from the front. Xiao Xiao and He Kai Tu followed behind Shu Sanxia and Bei Bei. Wang Donga extended her wings. She actually left Hu Yuhao behind as she soared into the air, and flew forward about 2 meters above everyone else, maintaining reach with both the sky and the ground. Hu Yuhao was the one who surprised their adversaries the most. Hu Yuhao didn't make a move immediately. Instead, he raised his right hand in the air, and the large starlight sapphire ring on his finger sparkled as an enormous metal sphere appeared in front of him. The metal sphere looked like a giant porcupine. There were a large number of cannon barrels on its surface, and it had 8 thick metal legs. These metal legs were arranged around the metal sphere, and stuck close to it as they moved stably along the ground. Hu Yuhao tapped lightly on its surface with his right hand, and a bright light ray flew out from his forehead, as he seized the opportunity to rise into the air. The little snow lady flew out behind him and pushed him along. They entered the enormous metal sphere. Several people's expressions changed on the rostrum. The ones with the blackest faces were Shu Tianran, and the Hallmaster of the illustrious Virtue Hall, Jing Hongchen. "What's this about, Hallmaster Hongchen?" Shu Tianran uttered these words through the gaps between his gritted teeth. The all-terrain self-driving fortress wasn't one of the illustrious Virtue Hall's top-secret technologies, but ever since the illustrious Virtue Hall came up with the design, both the design and the hall had been personally approved by Shu Tianran as part of the Sun Moon Empire's future main military forces. They had already begun producing the fortresses in bulk. But at this moment, this military equipment that was still being treated as a secret had appeared in the Continental Elite Youth Soul Master Tournament. How could Shu Tianran not be upset? Jing Hongchen was also dumbfounded. That's not possible. Hu Yuhao was on exchange at our academy for a while, but I was always guarded against him. It's impossible for him to have obtained our core technologies and knowledge. Calm down, Your Highness. We will investigate this matter after this. It is likely to have something to do with Xian Ziwen, our chief researcher, who has deserted us. Only he could possibly have known all the data regarding the all-terrain self-driving fortress. HMPH. Shu Tianran grunted angrily and shot a dark, cold glare at Jing Hongchen. If not for the fact that the illustrious Virtue Hall's hallmaster was highly reputable, and he still had uses for him, Shu Tianran would have ended his life right away with his temper. The Snow Demon Sect's team members were also greatly astonished as they watched Hu Yuhao enter his all-terrain self-driving fortress. Everyone was filled with awe and astonishment, but Princess Wei Na's eyes sparkled. What was this toy about? It was so large and massive, and it looked like every single cannon barrel could fire something different. It wasn't hard to imagine how powerful and domineering something like this would be on the battlefield. The Heavenly Soul Empire was already one of the Tang Sect's biggest customers. Hu Yuhao was a beat slower than his companions. Once he entered his fortress, the enormous sphere that was over 3 meters in diameter began to move. 8 lengthy metal legs stretched out at the same time and raised the self-driving fortress from the ground. The metal clanging sounds were clean and crisp, and not a single grinding or rubbing sound could be heard. Hu Yuhao had personally refined his all-terrain self-driving fortress with Xian Ziwen, and it was a lot more powerful than the ones that the Sun Moon Empire were mass-producing. This was also the main reason why Hu Yuhao had dared to expend his soul power before this, and the main reason why he still had the confidence to continue in the group battle. There were 6 sealed milk bottles that Xian Ziwen had personally crafted inside this fortress, all of them class 7. Every single one contained ample soul power, and together, they had enough soul power that Hu Yuhao could take part in a small battle without expending any of his own soul power. Xian Ziwen was the one who had come up with sealed milk bottles. Class 7 sealed milk bottles were at the highest possible class, with his current research progress. Even the illustrious Virtue Hall only had data and materials for crafting Class 6 sealed milk bottles. Even though Hui Yuhao couldn't raise his fortress offensive abilities to that of a Class 7 Soul Engineer with his 6 Class 7 sealed milk bottles, he had no problem unleashing and maintaining a Class 6 Soul Engineer's offensive prowess for a prolonged period of time. Right now, his role in his team was no longer as simple as just a control-type Soul Master. He was now part of his team's offensive front. 32 cannon barrels of different shapes and sizes at the top of his fortress were the first to fire. Whistling sounds could be heard as 32 orange-red spheres soared into the sky and rained down on his enemies in the distance. The fortress' 8 metal legs began to rotate rhythmically in the next moment, and it ran forward in pursuit of his teammates. Both forces were about to collide in the center, as Hui Yuhao's 32 orange-red cannon shells rained down on his opponents. The Tang sect wasn't absolutely stronger than their adversaries in terms of personal fighting strength, but the body sect would face a great task if they wanted to find someone that understood the usage of soul tools better than Hui Yuhao and Hikaitu. All 6 of the Tang sect's team, who were charging forward, halted at the same time. With Hui Yuhao's spiritual detection shared amongst everyone, they would never misjudge anything at all. Long Aotian was still in front of his entire team, and he formed a circle with his hands as an incandescent wave rippled out and swept towards the orange-red shells hammering down on them. He wanted to open a path for his team with his formidable strength. However, a peculiar scene occurred. The cannon shells paused in mid-air, and patches of blinding light erupted the moment the white air wave slammed into them. Who would have thought that Hui Yuhao's 32 cannon shells weren't an attack, but instead were flashbangs? It wasn't in line with how Soul Engineers typically fought. But it was this very fact, that it wasn't in line with how Soul Engineers typically fought, that made it easier for the results to show. The Tang sect's entire team immediately turned around and defended themselves against the flashbangs. Their opponents were caught off guard, and their entire field of view went white. This was an explosion caused by 32 flashbangs going off at the same time. There were no dead angles from the front, and 3 of the people from the body sect, who were struck by this blinding white light, exclaimed at the same time. The flashbangs didn't last for very long. The Tang sect's entire team turned around with their eyes closed in the next moment, and launched an assault on their opponents as soon as possible, with their eyes still closed. Did they even need to use their eyes? With Hui Yuhao's spiritual detection, they would never pick or recognize the wrong people even if their eyes were shut. The 8 metal legs on Hui Yuhao's fortress suddenly straightened, and pushed the entire fortress up 3 meters above the ground. Every single cannon barrel was trained on his opponents, and hundreds of different soul rays and cannons poured out and cascaded against them. Bei Bei and Shusansha pounced forward at the same time, going straight for Long Aotian. Jiang Nan Nan was still hidden behind Shusansha. Hui Yuhao's plan was for the 3 of them to combine their efforts to take down Long Aotian as quickly as possible. Long Aotian was too powerful, and it would be quite a challenge for the Tang sect to win this group battle if they didn't deal with their greatest threat first. Hui Yuhao would team up with Hikaitu to suppress the rest of the Snow Demon sect's team, so that their companions would have that chance. Xiao Xiao followed closely behind Shusansha and Bei Bei. Her tremendous 3-live Soul Crush cauldron appeared out of nowhere and split into 3, the 3 different cauldrons appearing behind Long Aotian. This was equivalent to isolating him, while all 3 cauldrons exploded with a deafening tone at the same time. Cauldron quake. Wang Donga soared high into the sky. With Hui Yuhao's forceful suppressing fire as cover, she flew soundlessly and discreetly towards the backs of her opponents. Her target was Wei Na. The Tang sect's explosive movement came without warning, but everybody fell into their roles and positions as quickly as was humanly possible. They made use of Hui Yuhao's formidable flashbangs and immediately gained the upper hand. Hui Yuhao's all-terrain self-driving fortress offensive capabilities were comparable to that of a Soul Emperor operating a Soul Tool fort. Furthermore, he could maintain his fortress for an even longer time. Hundreds of soul rays pressed down like a waterfall, and even the body sect's most powerful individuals had to react with everything they had. Wang Yangfeng was following closely behind Long Aotian. His arms instantly swelled up at this moment, resembling 2 enormous shields as they blocked the soul rays coming straight for them. He maintained this stance for 3 seconds, and greenish-bronze light flickered from behind his back. He was forced to unleash his body soul's second awakening. Hikaitu also released more than 10 different soul tools at the same time, and worked together with Hui Yuhao to suppress their opponents. In addition to Xiao Xiao's isolating efforts, there was no question that Long Aotian had been separated from his teammates. The audience beneath the competition stage were also temporarily blinded by the powerful flashbangs, and their vision was only gradually coming back to them. Meanwhile, a series of collisions could be heard from the competition stage. Boom. Something that absolutely astounded the Tang San's entire team occurred with 3 intense impacts. Bei Bei, Shusansha, and Jiang Nan flew backwards one after another, while Long Aotian, who they were besieging at the same time, stood in the same spot. He turned around and swung his incandescent arms toward Xiao Xiao. How was that possible? The same thought occurred to everyone. Long Aotian's eyes were still closed, and it was evident that he had been affected by the flashbangs before. However, he suddenly erupted as Bei Bei and the 2 others surrounded him, and his position switched 3 times in a row before he forced them back with forceful retaliations. Every position he chose was exceptionally precise, and his eruption was so quick that Bei Bei and the others were still a step behind even with Hu Yuhao's spiritual detection. Could it be that his unity of heaven and man wasn't affected by how chaotic the battlefield was? That wasn't possible. Xiao Xiao didn't retreat as Long Aotian suddenly charged towards her, because she was clear that the body sect's other team members were behind her. Hu Yuhao and He Kai-tu were currently holding them back, and she would block their firepower if she moved back. She would also find herself in a more perilous situation. The 3 live soul crush cauldrons collapsed together, and an indescribable majesty was released. 3 cauldrons merged into one, and the enormous cauldron boomed deafeningly as it crashed onto the ground. This humongous cauldron blocked Long Aotian's attack. The large cauldron buzzed and trembled, but a black light shot into the sky, and lights flickered as Xiao Xiao disappeared inside. Long Aotian could only see her 4th soul ring sparkling. National treasure, Cauldron's sovereign. This attack didn't just draw upon the 3 live soul crush cauldron's strength, it also borrowed upon the national fate that existed discreetly in the air. This aura was so powerful that even somebody like Long Aotian was suppressed in an instant. His unity of heaven and man was extremely reliant on aura, and his soul power had been weakened after repelling 3 people in a row. Xiao Xiao actually defended herself against his attack. Xiao Xiao's aura soared as she disappeared into her cauldron's sovereign, and a black whirlpool gradually appeared over the enormous cauldron. 3 intense explosions detonated with loud booms, her 3 live soul crush cauldron the epicenter, and 3 black halos rippled outward. The other team members from the body sect, who had fended off Hu Yuhao and He Kai-tu's combined efforts, rushed forward, and were pouncing forward when an indescribable and formidable impact force smacked them in the face. Every single one of them was thrown into the air when they tried to block this sudden force. National treasure, Cauldron's supremacy, and Cauldron's quaking tremble. 3 skills fused into one. Both Xiao Xiao and Hu Yuhao were Elder Xian students, and even though they weren't Soul Emperors yet, how could they lose to others in terms of fighting strength and control over their martial souls? Even Long Aotian was sent stumbling backwards from this sudden eruption. All 3 circles were equally powerful. If somebody weaker had to absorb these shockwaves, that person would have been sent flying through the air, or been locked in place. Xiao Xiao relied on her sudden eruption to buy enough time for her companions. Wang Donga was in position. She plummeted from the sky, and her wings were tinged with sharp bluish-golden hues as she slashed at Princess Wei Na. Wei Na seemed like she had already seen Wang Donga coming, and her feet tapped the ground lightly as she drifted forward. She turned back and glanced at Wang Donga at the same time. Wang Donga saw a pair of brilliant silver eyes, and a silver will rose up from behind Wei Na's head. Everything around Wang Donga seemed to twist and become surreal, and an intense dizziness shot into her brain. This is... But in the next moment, a piercing, needle-like pain shook Wang Donga back to her senses. Hu Yuhao's spiritual interference was there to help her. However, Princess Wei Na borrowed this tiny pause to dash into her companion's protection. Everything happened very quickly, and Hu Yuhao could see through many things as the main control-type Soul Master. How could Long Aotian suddenly erupt and repel Shusansha, Bei Bei, and Jiang Nan as if he could see into the future? The reason was simple. Princess Wei Na wasn't just a healing-type Soul Master for the Snow Demon Sex team, she was also a control-type Soul Master. Her abilities were spiritual, though her other martial soul wasn't her eyes. It should be her brain. There was no question that the brain was one of the most important components of a human body. A human's spiritual sea and a human's spirit were contained inside the brain. There was no question that the brain's abilities were spiritual type. Princess Wei Na actually had twin martial souls, and her second martial soul was a powerful body soul, her brain. She had used her mighty spiritual power to aid Long Aotian before this. However, from what the Tang sect could observe from the body sect's other team members, Princess Wei Na couldn't help several people at once like Hu Yuhao could, but only one person at a time. Hu Yuhao made all these judgments in an instant. It seemed as if the Tang sect was in a disadvantageous position, and the reason was simple: their formation. Bei Bei, Shu Sansha, and Jiang Nan Nan were charging forward once more. Xiao Xiao was deep inside enemy lines, and even though she had erupted forcefully to repel her opponents, she was still surrounded. Wang Donga was behind their opponent's entire team, and this meant both girls were separated from their companions. This situation gave their adversaries an opportunity to break them down one by one. The battlefield began to change once more. Dense black light poured out, and Shu Sanshi's sixth soul ring sparkled. It didn't take long for his Xuanwu domain to appear once more in the arena. Thick black light seemed to eclipse the sun as it blanketed the entire stage. All 6 of the body sect's team members immediately found themselves in a suffocating and stifling state. When Shu Sansha unleashed his Xuanwu's domain, a ghastly pale light burst out from Hu Yuhao's fortress. Mass enfeeblement. Domains were undoubtedly used for crowd control, and the body sect's entire team was now slowed down with the help of Hu Yuhao's mass enfeeblement and Shu Sanshi's Xuanwu domain. Light burst out from behind Wang Donga, and her flying-type soul tool spurted continuously as it propelled her into the sky. Wang Donga unleashed 3 hexagram arrays behind her, and her light of the butterfly goddess rained down on her opponents. In terms of position and cultivation, ganging up on Xiao Xiao was the best decision the body sect could make, and that was what they did. However, the 3 hexagram arrays that Wang Donga unleashed were positioned around Xiao Xiao with her in the middle, and 3 circles formed an arc with her in the middle. The youth called Ji Yu Tong from the body sect suddenly turned around and looked up at Wang Donga. 2 brilliant white beams blasted from his eyes as his first, second, third, and fourth soul rings all lit up at the same time. The white beams immediately switched colors in order from red to orange, yellow, green, blue, and then to purple after they left his eyes. 2 silver-white eyes appeared behind his back. This was yet another individual with a body soul that had gone through a second awakening at the white-silver level. At this moment, there were 2 people from the body sect's 7 team members who had displayed white-silver second awakenings, Long Aotian and Ji Yu Tong. Wei Na's body soul was her brain, and there was no question that her second awakening was also at the white-silver level. 3 white-silver second awakenings. The elites of the body sect's younger generation were all gathered in this place. Wang Donga's expression changed a little as the 2 formidable beams came straight for her. Even though her opponent only had 5 soul rings, this attack wasn't easy to deal with. Wang Donga's 5th soul ring sparkled, and her frame became completely transparent, the goddess of light's possession. Radiant and dazzling golden flames glowed on her both hands as she pushed out. Boom! Light rippled in all directions, as Wang Donga was instantly thrown back horizontally even though she was flying upwards. Her entire body was covered with a 7-colored layer of light, and her flying-type soul tool was extinguished at the same time. It looked like her soul power had been completely arrested. Fortunately, the Xuanwu domain had been completed. Black light surged as Wang Donga's body disappeared among the black waves. This was a domain's strength, and the person who unleashed this domain was the dictator of all things within it. Many different stronger abilities had to be used to break apart a domain. The battle on the other side had also reached its climax. Long Aotian was once more forcing his way out of the Xuanwu domain, and wanted to use his transformation of heaven and earth once again. However, Shu Sansha appeared in the sky and forcefully blocked his attack with his Xuanwu shield, holding him back to the point where Long Aotian couldn't break through at all. Bei Bei rushed to Xiao Xiao's side, and with the help of Wang Donga's hexagram array, blocked their opponent's assault. The Eye of Terror that He Kai-Tu had been setting up in the sky was also complete at this point. He switched to his Gigant lightning cannon, and fired 1 shot behind Xiao Xiao to buy Bei Bei some time. Over on the body sect's side, 2 enormous wings extended from Chen Yu's back. His martial soul was actually wings. It was something that shouldn't be seen on a human body. Chen Yu's wings flapped as he soared into the sky, forcefully repelling the Xuanwu domain's black waves as he lunged to one side. He then slashed out with his wings, as if they were 2 giant axes. Wang Donga reappeared inside the Xuanwu domain, lashing out with her wings at the same time and colliding with Chen Yu. Chen Yu was also a Soul Emperor, and their wings clashed again and again. It was clear that Chen Yu had located Wang Dongma's position with Wei Na's help. The body sect had one fewer person, but only Long Aotian and Wang Yangfeng had expended soul power among their 6 remaining team members. Long Aotian was incredibly powerful, so whatever he expended didn't affect him much. Over on the Tang sect's team, Hu Yuhao seemed to have consumed a little too much. His all-terrain self-driving fortress was firing hysterically, but he had stopped using his own abilities. Wang Dong'er retreated as she fought, and inched closer to Hu Yuhao. Jiang Yishi and Jiang Nannan were fighting it out apart from the main battlefield. Jiang Nannan's body was soft and flexible, and she was adept at close combat. Jiang Yishi's martial soul was her hands, and her hands transformed into claws that possessed formidable destructive power. Both of them were Soul Kings, and it was hard for either side to gain the upper hand. The battle had progressed to this point, and it seemed as if both teams were no longer cooperating with one another. This was because their individual abilities were simply too strong, and they couldn't completely cooperate with each other more often than not. This also happened because both teams were trying to sever each other's teamwork and cooperation. Bei Bei and Xiao Xiao charged forward at the same time, and went up against Ji Yutong and Wang Yangfeng. 2 versus 2, and neither party had the upper hand. Wang Yangfeng was a little drained from his battle with Hu Yuhao, and it was clear that he hadn't completely recovered, while Ji Yutong's long-range attacks were exceptionally powerful. Ji Yutong's martial soul was his eyes, but the path that he had decided to take was drastically different from Hu Yuhao's. His eyes were his strongest weapons, and every single beam that was fired from his eyes was accompanied by alternately sparkling soul rings. Wang Dong'er retreated as she continued fighting. Her movements were a little lackadaisical and slow, because she was still affected by Ji Yutong's previous attack. Otherwise, how could she be forced back again and again by Chen Yu? The Eye of Terror was finally in place in the sky, and intense light began to condense towards it. The body sect's entire team instantly felt the immense pressure coming from above them. However, the Tang sect seemed to have been suppressed in every individual or group combat that was taking place in several different places at once. They seemed like they were in a dire situation, and even Jing Zhon was unsure which side had the upper hand at this moment. There was a boom of impact, and a fountain of blood spurted from Shu Sanqi's mouth as he was sent hurtling through the air. There was still quite a gap between him and Long Aotian's strength, and he also had to maintain his Xuanwu domain to control their opponents. Even though Sanxia had Hu Yuhao's spiritual detection to warn him, Long Aotian finally found and wounded him with pure brute force. Long Aotian wasn't in good shape, either. His face looked a little pale, and his breathing was conspicuously heavier and thicker than before. The injury that he had sustained from the Yama's invitation was continuously affecting him, while his soul power was being consumed continuously. His current strength was far from his peak condition. Long Aotian spun around once he knocked Shu Sanxia away. Hurting Shu Sanxia like that was enough for him, and Long Aotian didn't have to pursue his opponent and break him down completely. Shu Sanxi's Xuanwu shield had brought a lot of trouble, and if he really wanted to defeat Shu Sanxia for good inside his Xuanwu domain, he would have to commit some time and energy even if he were in his peak condition. Long Aotian knew that he would have to pick apart the Tang sect's team members one by one if the Snow Demon sect was to win this match. Long Aotian chose Hikaitu as his target, because he was the only pure soul engineer in this fight, and also because Long Aotian wasn't far from his position. He pounced towards Hikaitu in a flash. Hikaitu grinned as he watched Long Aotian dash towards him. Hikaitu was the most unassuming one amongst the Shrek's 7 monsters. He hadn't fought much in the tournament's previous rounds, and the only thing he had done that caught the audience's attention was his Eye of Terror. Otherwise, he wasn't much to them, and not many people had noticed that he actually had 6 soul rings. Long Aotian chose him as his best chance at breaking through the Tang sect, because he figured Hikaitu was probably the easiest to knock out, and also because his Eye of Terror in the sky was about to erupt. Wei Na signaled that to Long Aotian, and Long Aotian didn't want to give him that opportunity. Long Aotian's entire body sparkled with bright light, as he raised his enormous dark golden axes high into the sky as he charged forward, unleashing his berserk godslash. Long Aotian didn't use his other soul skills to boost his strength, conserving energy, but he entered his unity of heaven and man realm once more. Long Aotian had always looked down on soul engineers. From his perspective, soul engineers relied on many different tricks and shortcuts to raise their cultivation, so how could they compare to his soul power that he had obtained from pure hard work? Hikaitu actually laughed as he watched Long Aotian pounce towards him. He raised his hand, and a pale golden cigar appeared in his mouth as his fifth soul ring lit up. Hikaitu casually looked down and lit his cigar with a soul ray that was fired from his shoulder and took a deep puff. Long Aotian's ferocious berserk godslash arrived. A white light layer glowed on Hikaitu's body. It was his Class 6 protective soul barrier. An intense red light lit up on his chest at the same time. A cannon barrel with a mouth half a foot in diameter opened up on the armor at this chest area. Boom. Long Aotian's strike was fearsome and powerful, and Hikaitu's Class 6 protective soul barrier was blown to smithereens. Hikaitu only managed to slow Long Aotian's large axes for a single beat. Hikaitu sucked on his pale golden cigar ferociously in the next moment. A golden barrier bloomed from his body and forcefully repelled Long Aotian's berserk godslash. Everyone could see the golden cigar in his mouth burn rapidly away as his golden light barrier was struck. Half of it was gone after he took the berserk godslash. Was that a soul skill? Yes, that was Hikaitu's fifth soul skill, Invincible Barrier Golden Cigar. His cigar was his auxiliary martial soul, and even his companions weren't that willing to use it. But everything changed when his fifth soul skill appeared. This Invincible Barrier Golden Cigar's existence was far too invaluable for a food-type soul master. The Tang sect had kept this a secret in the tournament, all the way until now. With this soul skill around, the Tang sect didn't have to create any more invincible barriers. Hikaitu's current cultivation meant he could maintain his invincible barrier for 7 seconds, when he was using his fifth soul skill to defend himself. Furthermore, the soul power that was consumed during these 7 seconds was from the soul skill, and he didn't have to expend any more of his own soul power to maintain it. This effect was a lot better than the invincible barriers created by soul tools, but the regrettable thing was that this Invincible Barrier Golden Cigar would only exist for 2 hours after it was crafted. A lot of soul power was required to craft one, and this was the reason why Hikaitu was the only one who would use it in combat, even at a time like this. But it was enough. Long Aotian's expression froze when his axes bounced back, and he saw an insidious ball of red light erupt in front of him in the next moment. This red light swallowed up his entire body in an instant. Long Aotian had just unleashed a powerful soul skill, and he couldn't struggle out of it as his entire frame was swallowed inside a sphere of red light. Jingzhon, the unbreakable Doluo, who was also a Class 9 soul engineer, blurted out, a Class 7 light of binding. Jingzhon felt an unprecedented astonishment after seeing this red sphere. He was awed by both teams before this, but his awe had stemmed from how powerful their martial souls were. The binding light that beamed out from Hu Yuhao's chest at this moment shook him to the core. Other than the fact that this binding light was a Class 7 soul tool, it was something that only the Sun Moon Empire possessed. It was very complicated to craft even one of these, and this soul tool had extremely high criteria for crafting materials and resources. Hikaitu could use his light of binding, and this meant that the Tang sect had mastered this technique and this technology. This astounded the unbreakable Doluo even more than their formidable might and strength. The binding light would fire a single beam, and the target would be arrested and immobilized once struck. The target would be suppressed and held back by immense soul power, so binding lights could only be Class 7, at the very least. Class 7 binding lights had enough power to temporarily lock down an 8-ringed soul Doluo's abilities. The binding light's effects would also be removed if the target was attacked after he or she had been manacled, but the target would have to take the complete brunt of the attack as long as the target hadn't struggled out of the bind before it struck. Binding lights could be considered a favorite among the control-type soul tools that high-level soul masters used. One small change could affect the entire situation. The whole battlefield immediately transformed once Hikaitu unleashed his binding light. Nobody attacked Long Aotian at all, not even Hikaitu, but Shrek's 7 monsters suddenly flared up as a team. Hu Yuhao hadn't been doing much this entire time, but now he suddenly darted out from his all-terrain self-driving fortress. Shusansha had vomited blood from Long Aotian's attack before this, and jumped high into the air. Now, Hu Yuhao appeared and caught him before he channeled his mysterious underworld displacement. Black light surged as Shusansha and Wang Donga suddenly swapped places, and Wang Donga was now in front of Hu Yuhao. Wang Donga was already prepared, and she extended her arms and brought Hu Yuhao into her embrace. Hu Yuhao was on one side as his eyes twinkled with pale golden light. Wang Donga was on the other side, and her radiant wings stretched out behind her back, as she unleashed her martial soul, the radiant butterfly goddess. The area around them glowed as they both released their martial souls at the same time, and a unique radiance shimmered from their bodies. This light was very strange and unique, its color alternating between blue, purple, and gold. Dense light energy formed its core, and many strange soul power undulations were mixed up within it. A colossal projection appeared behind Wang Dong's back, a complete and magnificent radiant butterfly goddess. An enormous virtual vertical eye appeared behind Hu Yuhao. This vertical eye was dazzling golden color, and its pupils shone with faint purple hues. Blinding blue, purple, and gold lights intertwined together to form a gigantic sphere of light that blasted down from the sky towards the ground in front of Long Aotian. Save Aotian! Princess Wei Na shouted at the top of her lungs. She didn't know what Hu Yuhao and Wang Dong were trying to do, but Hu Yuhao had finally exploded after holding back for such a long time. It was evident that their combined attack wouldn't be weak at all. However, Hu Yuhao and Wang Dong weren't the only two of Shrek's 7 monsters who burst into action. Shu Sanshi's Xuanwu shield flared with black light, after switching positions with Wang Dong, and multiple shields that glimmered with black light surrounded the winged Chen Yu and locked him in. Shu Sansha withdrew his Xuanwu domain as he unleashed his Xuanwu shield formation, as his domain consumed too much soul power. Shu Sansha had been wounded during his attempts to block off Long Aotian before this, but it was still quite impossible for Chen Yu to overcome Xu Sanshi's cultivation and break free of the barricade to help Long Aotian. Bei Bei exploded at the same time. A long and drawn-out dragon roar echoed across the arena as Bei Bei's entire body seemed to stretch out. His bluish-purple lightning immediately began to sublimate as dazzling golden light radiated from him, and golden dragon scales covered his entire body. Bei Bei's body quivered violently, as a vigorous and firm golden lightning streak blasted free from his body and transformed into a colossal lightning net. Bei Bei used this lightning net to stop Wang Yangfeng, who was on his way to lend Long Aotian a hand, right in his tracks. Bei Bei also unleashed his golden dragon head from one fist at the same time, and crushed the incoming beams from Jiyu Tong's eyes. Xiao Xiao's 3-live soul crush cauldron split into 3 once more and dropped to the ground, cauldron quake. She teamed up with Bei Bei and locked 2 more of the body sect's team members in place. Bei Bei's intense and biting lighting suppressed them so much that they couldn't unleash their body soul's second awakening, which was their strongest technique. Jiang Nan Nan flared up at the same time. She unleashed her 3rd soul skill, Instant Shift, and her 4th soul skill, Invincible Golden Body, at the same time, which allowed her to appear behind Jiang Ishi in an instant. Jiang Nan Nan took a direct hit from her opponent as she wrapped her legs around Jiang Ishi's waist, and her 5th soul ring glowed, Soft Bone Lock. 3 soul skills were discharged one after another, and Jiang Nan Nan immobilized Jiang Ishi in the blink of an eye. This video will end here.